Okay, thank you for joining us today at JALT International 2020. Please welcome Lanoke Paradita, and she will be presenting on XReading to motivate L2 reading in tertiary level institutions. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you very much, everyone, to coming to my presentation. It's very was a good moment for me to share what I've got and what I've done in my class using XReading. So this afternoon, I would like to share you how my students use XReading and how they can be motivated after they use XReading. I believe that we all agree that reading compelling texts at a great amount and within our linguistic competence will improve our language skills. But then this is not what happens in students in Indonesia. What I mean is that what they know is that reading something for pleasure in English is not what they usually do. I would like to start by giving you the reading in Asian context shared by Rob 2002. Students usually choose other extracurricular and then reading what they do when they read is that to satisfy the course requirement. And then they think that many courses that they took will be burdensome, so they don't really like to read, especially when they read not in Bahasa Indonesia. So when we try to introduce to the students that L2 reading will be good for their learning, it is still a new thing for the students. It is not their habit, and then English, especially English reading, is given in classroom context, so that when students read English is usually for their tests and it is to be assessed. So they do not accustomed to read English as something for fun. What I do in my class is that when I want to introduce them that they can read English for fun, they were welcoming, but then things that happen is that we cannot do all the reading process in the classroom because we have many other activities that we had to do, so that the reading will be done outside the classroom. However, if we do it outside the classroom, it will be difficult for me to monitor whether the students really read the text or not. So one of the things that I try to introduce to the students is to use reading log. So in the first semester, I introduced the students the concept of extensive reading to read something for pleasure, and I asked them to record their reading. Basically, what I asked them to write down in their log is the title and then the number of words that they write. And in the beginning of the semester, I set the target, and it was 200,000 words for one semester. I use reading log because I would like to keep track their reading process, and that based on Liudaya, reading log is used to express their attitudes toward text, to reflect on their discoveries, and to make connections between what they know and what they are learning. So after they write their report in reading log, how many words they have read, I would do one-on-one interview, and I would do that randomly, so that I expect the students to bring reading log every day or every meeting in my class. However, it did not do very well because many students forgot to bring the reading log, and then many students find it burdensome to count on the words that they read from the books. So in the first semester, the target words, as I mentioned earlier, is 200,000, and then the average read I have 40 students participating in the class. It's only 37,484 words, and there were only 2 students met the target. But then in the second semester, we tried to use XReading. I will share you in a moment how the students used that and how they thought about using XReading to help them read. First, we set the target words, and the students mentioned that it was too high in the first semester. So in the second semester, we agreed that we decreased that into 100,000 in a semester, but then they can improve their total words. And averagely for 40 students, they have 54,145 words. And surprisingly, there were 8 students surpassed the target. I know that 8 students are not a lot, but then knowing that it increases significantly, then I believe they made use of XReading well. Not all students, but most of them use them well. Now, I would like to share you what they commented on what they did on the first semester. So I happen to be so lucky because in 2017, I got a book lottery and I got many books, graded readers that I can introduce to my students. And I use this to main activity in my class. So I thought that the books availability will be enough in a sense that compared to having none of the books. So some of the students thought that the books available can support reading activities because these books are also new for them. But then when they read one book and they would like to find other books, they didn't find something that they need. They need more books with pictures and I didn't have it. They need more non-fictions, but I didn't have it. And I have more level 4 and level 5 rather than level 1. And my students are all still, trying to understand simple text. So the books that I provided was not enough. So basically they said that it's still lack of books, even though I have some. And then when I did one-on-one unscheduled interview, some of the students told me that it was good because they could talk to me and then they felt that they were monitored in a sense that I accompanied their reading progress and that I can be a reminder for them to read and that it can motivate them to read more. But then because not all students will bring the reading log to the class, so many students said that, well, actually you didn't assess everyone because when my friends do not bring the reading log, then you didn't ask them because I cannot ask the students who do not bring reading log. I cannot see how far they have read. And then these are some of the difficulties when they did the reading project. What I meant by reading project was that to read one semester for 200,000 words. They said that they were lazy and they forget, and the books that are available are uninteresting, and they cannot find suitable books. They have problems with time management. They cannot understand the text because most of the books are difficult for them, and that the target that I set was too high. Because of this problem and because I saw that the students did not reach the target, so in the second semester, we decided to use XReading because using this platform, there will be so many abundant reading texts for the students, and we use XReading during the pandemic, so it was appropriate time for them to have anything online. So they still have accessible materials when they are at home. So this is just a glance of XReading. you will find thousands of graded readers, and Paul Goldberg has just sent to XReading users that he has just added the new 130 graded readers. So there are a lot of books that students can choose and read. And I can download important data such as reading level, the numbers of book added by the students, and how many books that they successfully read, the number of words, and this is to to replace the reading log, the manual one. I can download the reading time, so I know how long they spend their time to read, their reading speed, their listening time, and also the score on quizzes, so I can check whether they can understand what they read or not. And then there will be more features to be added. You can join Paul Goldberg's presentation that will be on Sunday at 11:20 a.m. So in the second semester, we set the target for 100,000 words in one semester. From 40 students, 21 students increased, averagely 6 times more than what they read in the first semester. But then the other 19 students decreased, but the number was not significant. But there are some reasons why the students keep reading and why the number is also decreasing for some other students. So I interviewed 11 students. 7 of them have their number of words increased, and 4 of them are decreasing. They mentioned some of the reasons to continue reading. The first one is because of the class target is not so burdening for them, and they can think that it is achievable, and because the words that they read will be scored and it will be put into the total score for the whole semester. So their motivation is to get a good score. Another student mentioned that because it is not free for them, so they better make use of it. The student who mentioned this was one of those who reached the best reader in my class. The other reasons are that they do not need to wait for others to return books to read, because what happened in the first semester was that when they wanted to read the books, they had to wait for their friends returning it to my library. Using XReading, then they do not need to wait for others, so they can continue reading whenever they want. There are abundant choice of genres, publishers, levels, pages, numbers of words, meaning to say that the students use the information from XReading and then they can choose whatever genre that they like. Some of them take a look at the publishers and also the writers. So they start to build their their favorite. And I think when they keep using that, they will be narrow readers. The other reason is that there is quiz availability, and the students like to use the quiz because they know that what they read is whether they understand what they read or not. And it is accessible everywhere and at any time, of course, because it's online. And because there is also audio available for each of the book. Well, not all, but most of them have the audio so that it can help them to comprehend the text. And that students also mention that from what they read, they have got many values and things that they can learn. And there are some reasons why they do not read. So the first one is because of the technical difficulties. I think this one will be unavoidable for something that we do online, but I don't think that this will be a major issue, such as login failure, and because they think that I couldn't log in, so next time I will not try my best. So that's what the student said. And then that the internet access unavailability, because As I mentioned earlier, we use XReading during the pandemic when the student had to go back to their hometown, and some of them are in rural area where internet accessibility is very rare. And then some of the students actually prefer to read printed books because they cannot read in the screen for a long time. And then social media distraction. This happened to one of my top students. She read a lot in the first semester, but then when she go back home and then read using XReading, because she access XReading using her mobile phone, so there are so many distractions that she got. So when she was reading and received some text, then she would prefer to text messaging with her friends and do like social media thing. Um, One other reason is that there was a break due to web maintenance, and it stopped students to read regularly. One of the students mentioned this, that she actually continued reading regularly, but then there was the web maintenance. So when she stopped, then she did not continue. Other students believe that reading is not effective to master English, in a sense that they think how to what is it, the most important skill to master is speaking, it's not reading. And when we want to master English, so we have to practice speaking a lot. um, Based on Wakefield 1997, when we want to see whether students are motivated or not, we can take a look at the subjective task values, which cover the interest value and attainment value and utility value. So interest value is how much the individual likes or interested in the activity. And when I ask the students, they are interested in reading using XReading because of the breadth of the choices, and that they can do whenever and wherever they are. And then the attainment value, they know that it is important, not only reading English, but studying English is very important, because some of the students want to continue their study abroad, so they have to master English. And this is one of the ways that they can use by reading a lot. And then utility value is the usefulness activity. They think that by reading a lot, they know it is useful. First, it's because that they got many values and lessons from what they read. Some of the students mentioned that they love to read the 10 ways of, so it's a series of 10 ways of managing money, managing your time, and so on. So they think that they got many knowledge from the books. Some other read fictional works, and she got many values that she wanted to apply to her daily life. Um, there are things that I really want to take a look at closer later on, because this is still a working project, I think, because there are so many aspects that we can get from XReading and from how the students perceive and use XReading as their, what is it, main platform to get the reading materials. The first is that how it will help students to self-regulate, because they know when to read, they can manage their time. They can also, choose based on the information that they get, because some of the students mentioned that the way they choose the books are based on how many words will be in the book. If it is too much for them, then they will choose something with lesser words. And then whether XReading can promote reading efficacy. I think that's all that I can share today. I'm sorry if there are things that are rather unclear, then you can clarify. These are the references that I use. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lanoke, for your wonderful presentation on how you have been using XReader in your context. We still have approximately 5 minutes, so I'd love to open up the floor to any questions. And questions may be put into chat, or you can use your microphones.
Thank you, Dr. Nabaraj Neupane. Hopefully that I don't misspell your name.
Excuse me, Miss Lanoke. Can
Yes.
you explain the characteristic of your student? Are they English major or?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. So my students are not. Yeah, my students are not English majors, so they actually an Arabic students.
Yeah.
So they study English for general purpose.
Yeah. So, but still doing X-reading, they can find the efficacy of reading.
Yeah. I tried to ask them because I didn't do a survey using a questionnaire. Basically, I talked to them, did the interviews, and it was rather difficult for me to to get to know whether they have a strong efficacy. So I think the next one will be using both quantitative and qualitative way to understand whether they have that. But I think it will improve their efficacy. I saw that because many of the students mentioned the way when they choose the books, they use the information such as how many words that they will read. If they think that they can read that, and if they are confident to read, then they will read. Yes.
There's a question in the chat here. I think the previous Dr. Nuepan asked about what is X-reading. I don't think it was maybe the people here, other people in here, I'm looking at Paul in particular, know what X-reading is, but I'll ask Lanoke, could you give us a quick intro? What is X-reading?
Well, actually, we have Paul Goldberg here. He is the one who built X-reading.
So, would you like him to explain quickly, or?
Of course, yes.
Okay,
he knows
Paul,
better. Yes.
give us your elevator pitch.
In 1 minute, it's an online digital library of graded readers. We have 1,300 and constantly growing. Students can choose any book they want to read, and teachers can monitor everything their students are doing. So you can see which books they've selected, how many words they've read, how many minutes they've read, and very importantly, you can check their reading speed, so you know if they're genuinely reading, because it's quite difficult to give a fake reading speed. And we have audio for the books, quizzes, and a whole bunch of new features. I'm actually presenting on it tomorrow. Lanoke, I hope you'll be able to join tomorrow. You'll see a bunch of new features that will be coming for April if you're still using it with your students.
There's a question. Is it free of charge? What is the price tiers?
No, unfortunately, it's not free because I need to pay the publishers who put their books on the system. So
of course,
I don't know where the person who's asking. I don't know where you're based, but it works like Netflix, where like the movie studios put their movies on Netflix, and Netflix charges people and then pays the movie studio. So it's the same idea, and depending on which country you're in determines the price. So Indonesia is about half the price of Japan, and then other countries may be more or less expensive, again depending on the country.
All right. Any more
Thank
questions?
You, Paul.
Yeah,
yeah, Paul, thanks.
Presentation. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
okay.
Paul and then
last
sorry,
question. Yep.
Yeah, Paul and then Miss Lanoke. Just one thing, because I'm going to use X-reading for my research. It's just one word. Is it easy to use for somebody like me, IT illiterate?
My answer will be very biased. So let's listen to Lanoke.
It's very easy to use, Miss Tanabata. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you, because that's my Christmas homework.
Good luck for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll be Paul's presentation tomorrow, and then thank you. Lovely presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Okay, that is the end of the presentation. I'd like us to all thank Lanoke with a round of applause. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining this presentation.
And I will stop recording now.